Today on Locked On Red Wings, where is Tarasenko's offense? And previewing a busy weekend with matchups against the Maple Leafs and the New York Rangers.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And I am a color commentator for Oakland University D1 Hockey. Scotty, we got actually a pretty busy episode. We got two games to preview, as well as our main topic on today's episode, which is Tarasenko's offense, 3 points in 11 games. What the heck's going on? But also a little bit of a Grand Rapids update for you guys, mainly because Ville Husso is back to playing hockey, and he had a solid game with the Griffins against the Iowa Wild on Thursday. So we'll talk to you about all of that on today's episode. But first, gotta let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Oh, Lord. Scotty, happy Friday, buddy. What are your plans for the weekend, dude, besides watching hockey, obviously?
Yeah, hockey, football, and work. Doing some stuff for the news this weekend. We're in a pretty busy time of year. So that's pretty much my weekend. What about you?
Busy man. Hockey, and football. Hockey, and football. Yeah, that's pretty much it, which is nice.
The life right there.
I was out and about all week last weekend, so it'll be nice to not be so out and about this weekend. Yeah. Anyways, Scotty, Vladimir Tarasenko, I want to lead off the episode talking about that. You know, there was a lot said about him coming into the season. We were super excited when they signed him because, and we had noted, the team lost a lot of depth scoring this last offseason. Shane Gostisbehere walked, David Perron walked, Fabry was traded away, Wollman was traded away, Sprong walked, and you know, with the exception of the Wollman trade at the time, like there was none of those moves I necessarily disagreed with based on where this roster wanted to head. But it did leave a huge black hole in goals. And so the acquisition of Vladimir Tarasenko on that 2-year deal, for us, excited us because we knew in his prime he was a 40-goal scorer. We knew more than likely he was probably closer to 20 to 25 this season. But thus far, through 11 games, he's only produced 3 points, 2 goals, and 1 assist. So I guess kind of similar to the conversation we had with Patrick Kane, although Patrick Kane has produced points more than that than Vladimir Tarasenko, you know, what is our concern level for Vladimir Tarasenko's production, and what are some reasons why that his production could be struggling out the gate here?
Well, I think first off, there was multiple of our fantastic beat writers put out pieces this week about Vlad, and I know Helena St. James did, and I know that that Boltman did as well. But I think that something that was pointed out was that he, you know, Lalone said that he got the flu pretty badly at one point. So I think, like, to be fair to him, you know, you throw that in there. That's whatever affects him for a week or so. But it has been very quiet. Like, he has been very, very quiet in terms of production so far. And I think that that's pretty disappointing considering, I mean, there's an argument he was the big acquisition of the entire offseason. No, like, I mean, there's a legitimate argument. He was the biggest free agent you brought in all summer. And I think that the plan initially was to put him in the top 6 and have that second line be a really big goal scoring, goal producing type of line. And he has fallen down. I mean, he's been getting third line minutes, like he's been falling down. And even if he sticks there, that's still a disappointment considering what expectations were for him. And then obviously we talk about it all the time. He's not providing you any value on the defensive side of the puck. So if he's not scoring goals, there's not a ton of value, period. And so I'm not going to pretend like it's sunshine and rainbows. Like, I'm not going to pretend like this is all just like fine and you know, it might just work itself out. I hope it does. But my level of concern is, I guess I'll say, like, far greater for him than it was for Kane, just because of, new system, obviously getting up there in years, but like Kane is too. I'm not trying to compare them one for one, so we can just kind of drop that, I guess. But like, I do have some concerns about whether there is a fit for him on the roster to like get the most out of him, I guess I'll say, going forward. I don't think like the sky is falling. I'm not trying to come on here and be like doomsday, that this is terrible and it's a complete failure and he won't turn it around. I'm sure he will improve from the 3 points and 11 or 12 game mark that he currently has. If he's getting down and getting put in the bottom 6 this early, I think that is a red flag at a minimum.
Yeah, so I'm a little mixed on it, because the problems are very clear, right? He's a goal-scoring winger who scored just 2 goals so far through 11 games, and that is a problem. But he has been doing other things well, right? Like he's a heavy forechecker, and he's been forechecking hard. And, he's not great defensively, but he did make a really great defensive play against the Blackhawks, laying out Connor Bedard after he picked Jeff Petry's pocket, something we didn't even bring up when we were talking about Jeff Petry the other day, getting his pocket picked by Connor Bedard, Tarasenko coming in and saving the day by laying him out. So like he does bring a physical, hard forechecking presence. The results just aren't there yet, and the metrics don't really favor him either. I think his Corsi for percentage on the season so far is 44%. But I was like, all right, everyone on the team, save like 2 players, are under 50% in that metric because this team as a whole doesn't possess the puck. So I was like, let's look relative. And relative to the rest of the forwards, he ranks 9th in relative Corsi for percentage. Again, Corsi for is just simply shot attempts versus shots against. Shot attempts for versus shot attempts against. So it's just including the shots that don't hit the net also. So at 5-on-5, he's a negative 2.28 Corsi for percentage relative. Negative. So when he is off the ice, the team performs better than when he is on the ice at producing shot attempts. And again, I think part of that, again, similar to the Patrick Kane conversation, again, they're not one-for-one players, but in terms of like what you want out of these players versus what the system wants them to do, that's where the gap is. This is an offense-first player that thrives when his team has possession, and his team never has possessions. And again, The onus is on him as well to help the team get possession. But if the team as a whole struggles to get possession, it makes sense that a player of his style would be struggling in that system. So what do? Well, that second line was abysmal. It was getting caved in every single game because Kane and Tarasenko, we talked about it. It was a huge boomer bust line. You had a lot of offensive potential, but if they did not click, it was going to be horrendous defensively, and it was. So him getting demoted to the third line, honestly, to me, wasn't that big of a deal because now he's playing with Tarasenko and Jonathan Berggren, who have been great.
He's playing with who?
I change it up every single time. He's playing with Berggren.
There you go.
But
you just said he's playing with Tarasenko, and I was like, that's who we're talking about. So that's kind of crazy.
Oh, he's playing with Casper and Jonathan
There
Berggren.
you go.
Sorry, thank you. I didn't catch that. I thought you were making
I was like,
he's
playing with himself. I mean, I would hope so. Yeah, that makes sense.
So they've been better. That third line's actually been very, very good, even though the production hasn't come yet. But we can feel it on the edge of getting here. Like, we've watched these games. We see how that third line dominates. It feels like it's getting there. So, like, my concern level, 11 games in, isn't very high. For me, it's new system that he's had to learn. He's going to be playing a new role on a new team. He's 6th on the team in power play time, too. Like, he's not one of the top power play guys either. He's in the top 2 power play units, but he's 6th in time on the ice per 60 minutes at that role. So, he's just adjusting to a new team, new role. It's only 11 games. I'm really not that concerned. Plus, as you mentioned, he had the flu. And Max Boltman mentioned that in his article, too. It's like, okay, he missed one game because of the flu, but that doesn't mean that was the only game the flu was affecting him. Like, you don't just get the flu one day and you're done. It could have been the game before that he was battling it, and the 2 games after that he was still feeling the after effects. So, like, I'm worried that he hasn't produced yet, but I'm not overly worried that he's not going to produce. I think a lot of it just has to do with chemistry, system, role, and health, which sounds like a lot of excuses, I know, but it's just still far too early in the season to really be overly concerned about his play. I think once that third line starts scoring goals, they're going to start scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the sample size thing. Like, it is still very early in the season. I think this is the importance of him to get going is just very, very high. Like,
Oh yeah.
it is imperative to this team's success that he becomes a goal scorer to some extent the rest of the way. Not only just for depth scoring, but just again for like allocation of resources. If this is a swing and miss on the again arguably biggest free agent you brought in this summer, like that's not good, and that's does not set yourself up going forward either. So I think mine might be less on like an immediate worry level, because I do agree with you that it is really early, and I think that third line could be productive. But I think mine is just the worry that like it is really important for him to get going.
It is. It very much is. And to your credit too, like if they swung and they missed on another free agent acquisition, then that's another strike against the pro scouting department. And you have to have real conversation in your front office of, okay, do we need to revamp this part? Because their amateur scouting, their drafting has been phenomenal, but their pro scouting, quite a bit since they've decided to actually start signing guys and make this team better has been questionable at best. So anyways, just wanted to address that because he only had 3 points in 11 games. He was a player that a lot of people were excited to see in a Red Wings uniform. We'll move on from that conversation, talk about the Ville Husso and the Hot Griffins before getting into the two previews this weekend. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about hymns. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you the boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you the access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for the uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication will ship directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compound products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Prices vary based on product and subscription plan. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Now I know why they speed that up at the end of those commercials. They do it 3 times speed. It's like half the read is dedicated to that stuff. Scotty, the Grand Rapids Griffins are off to a torrid start. We've mentioned that a little bit here and there in the past. They won again on Thursday over the Iowa Wild, and that was a 5-2 final. And a lot of you are probably thinking, hey, why are they talking Griffins? I know you love us talking Griffins, but why this specific 5-2 game? Well, Ville Husso got back in the lineup. A few weeks ago, he tweaked an injury. He's good to go again, and he was lights out. And he's been lights out when he has played with the Griffins so far this season. He made 37 saves on 39 shots to help lead the Griffins to a 5-2 win. Now, the Red Wings currently have the 7th best goalie tandem in the NHL. We're not, in terms of team save percentage, they're in the top 10. Cam Talbot is 2nd in save percentage among goalies with at least 5 games played. Alex Lyon is 10th in save percentage amongst goalies with 5 games played. There's no need to drum up a conversation of, can Ville Husso earn his way back to the lineup? Because the answer is the same as before. If the Red Wings need him, he'll be called up. But I just wanted to bring it up as Ville Husso's healthy again, and he played very good, and he's continued to play well in Grand Rapids when he is healthy. So he's not dead in the water yet.
Yeah. I think, and again, we had the conversation about his standing on the team. What is that? Probably a week or 2 weeks ago.
After he got hurt.
Right. And talked about the, he if the team needs it, if there's an injury or if one of the two goalies starts struggling a lot, then maybe they consider bringing him back. But as it stands right now, there's really no need to move him. I do have some concerns that I voiced at that time too, just about the playing distribution between him and Kosa and like how that's going to work. Cause I would, I want Kosa to get plenty of playing time, but I think really the biggest thing with him at this point is like, that's great that he's doing well in Grand Rapids. And I hope he continues to do so. But like he's done well in Grand Rapids, and in the preseason he had at least one, if not two, really good games as well. I think most people are just like, okay, like what is? It feels empty until it happens in a regular season NHL game. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
This is we've seen plenty of him against lesser competition dominating. Like we've seen plenty of that over the last 2 years. We've seen plenty of that, and that's great, but. He's the highest paid goaltender in the organization. I think people are just kind of waiting for him to do that. And for these performances to translate to actual NHL regular season, meaningful games. And I that hasn't happened in quite a long time for him at this point, over probably around a calendar year. And I hope he keeps dominating, and I hope he stays sharp so that if and when the Wings do need him, that he's ready to roll. But I think for the immediate, it's kind of same conversation. It's like, okay, well, once we need him, yes, but until then, he can stay down there and hopefully keep getting better.
Right, and the point of this isn't for me to be. I'm not trying to be like, here comes Husso. Like my point here is he's healthy again, and he's been playing very well in Grand Rapids, so he remains an option for you if you get. If that situation in Detroit gets worse or somebody gets hurt. That's the point of me bringing this up. He's played 3 games with the Grand Rapids Griffins now and has a .958 save percentage. Again, that's in the AHL, where you expect a guy making $4.75 million to excel. But he has been doing so, and that's nice because he clearly needed to get live reps to get back into the swing of things, and then he got hurt again. But now he's healthy again. It's like that. That meme where it's like someone, like something in the middle, and it's just like arrows pointing around it, and it's just a circle. It's like Ville Husso plays well. Ville Husso starts to play bad. Ville Husso gets hurt. Ville Husso gets healthy. Ville Husso plays well. Ville Husso gets hurt.
Right.
Like it's that's the circle with Ville Husso. Yeah. You are here right now with Husso. And at the end of the season, I fully expect Ville Husso to end up, walking away. I don't see why the Red Wings would feel the need to re-sign him. It's not entirely his fault, right? Like he's been battling injuries nonstop, but
for sure.
The best ability is availability. And when he's been healthy, he hasn't necessarily been the best on a consistent basis either. So I think with Cam Talbot here and Kosa right on the cusp, because he's got a 936 save percentage so far in Grand Rapids himself.
Yeah, I think that's quickly becoming like, next year is that the move type of thing.
I'm thinking next year's the move. I think you're going to have Kosa. It's early yet, but Kosa and Talbot, your tandem next year. Don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it. Speaking of, they played the Iowa Wild, right? And you know who is Iowa Wild's starting goaltender?
Not Askarov. Who's what's his name? Wallstead?
Yeah.
Is it Wallstead? Yeah.
Now, I'm not taking a victory lap on AHL performances, but Jesper Wallsted's off to a rough start, and in this game, he allowed 5 goals against. He has an .869 save percentage in the AHL. I'm not wishing the kid poor. I hope he has tremendous success. Mostly I'm feeling a little vindicated because of all the doomers on the Red Wings fan base that were saying that they missed out by not taking the clear-cut better goalie back in 2021 when now suddenly it's a much tighter conversation.
For sure. Yeah. So. Well, former Locked On Red Wings guest, Jesper Wallstead. Nolan Bianchi and I interviewed him back, 3 years ago now? He was obviously he was the top goalie prospect in that draft, and the Wings traded up and passed on him, and took Kosa. So I am obviously we're all pulling hard for Kosa for just organizational reasons, but whenever they face off, that's going to be a talking point for sure.
Other notable thing from that game, Jacob Richlovsky got his first AHL career goal, and the more notable part of that goal was the absolute beautiful feed from Amadeus Lombardi, who is he is turning into the top line center for that team.
Which is
He's
awesome
been incredible.
Because so he had like the record-setting season when he was in Flint when he had like when he was just like setting the world on fire, and then he came up to the A, and it was like, okay, like that was really fun. Like he lit everything up when he was in a lesser league, and now he's playing with more legit prospects, and he's lost all momentum, and now nobody's really talking about him again. And then now it's like a second wave where like he's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he's gotten faster, and now all the hype is back, and people are like, yeah, dude, like Lombardi is the hype is all back, where everybody's jumping back on board. And it's really, really fun to see, man. Yeah, I think he's a guy that we could see end of this year or / next year as well.
Yeah, he's been really fun so far. He's got 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points in 11 games. Just the silky mitts are really starting to come into their own at the professional hockey level, which is, I mean, for a guy, he's 5'11", it's
quicker, which is wild.
Yeah, faster, dude. And he's got 2 game-winning goals too. He's that pass he made on that assist to Richlovsky, he dangled through a defender, just absolutely left his jockstrap in the rafters with that move, and then just like a really soft touch pass to Richlovsky backdoor to bury it. Like, congratulations, Richlovsky, but I'm sorry, you got one-upped by the assist on that one. That was beautiful. So you love that, and you especially love it out of your 4th-round picks. Scotty, we'll take another quick break. When we return, we'll talk about the 2 games this weekend. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through the thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more using Game Time Picks. And right now, Game Time is having an exclusive zone deal for the NHL Winter Classic event at Wrigley Field. Go to Game Time app to purchase tickets and get 10% off bleacher seating and 20 to 25% off home plate area seats. Now, we all know what happened the last time the Chicago Blackhawks played a game at Wrigley Field for the Winter Classic. That's right, they lost to the Detroit Red Wings. So don't miss out on another opportunity to see Chicago lose a Winter Classic at Wrigley Field by going to Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. FanDuel, get ready to tackle the NFL action this season with America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, Red Wings got back-to-back games this weekend. They got the game on Friday in Toronto before coming home on Saturday to face off with the New York Rangers, finishing up their season series with the Rangers before the middle of November, which is wild.
Before American Thanksgiving, we're going to be done with the Rangers. Honestly,
Thank God.
I'm totally fine with that. I have no issue with that at all.
I mean, talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs first year, right? They go to Toronto, and this is the Red Wings have gotten 4 points out of 4 points so far in the month of October. They won a game against November. They won a game against Buffalo, which was a team you're right there with in terms of rebuild, and then you had a convincing win against the Chicago Blackhawks. Great to see. Now you have a real test. What are we expecting to see from this game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, Scotty?
You know, it's we were talking about it off air before we hit record. You know, the Leafs are 7-5-1 on the season. So like certainly not a bad 7-5-2. Sorry. Not a bad year. Obviously, they're going to be in the mix and probably once they hit their stride toward the top of the division yet again, as they always are during the regular season. And I think kind of the weirdest thing about this team so far is that they've been kind of middle of the road in terms of goal scoring and have actually been like way above middle of the road in goals against and their defense and goaltending, right? Like all of these things that have been highlighted so much and that have been mocked, honestly, by the national media and the Toronto media for like things that the Leafs struggle with. Small sample size. We're talking about less than, fewer than 15 games here. Like I'm sure that once they hit their stride, the offense is going to be just as high flying and high powered as it usually is. But it's been a weird start. This has been one of the worst power plays in the entire NHL. They're, I think, 17th just in goals for a game, so bottom half of the league technically. Like it's just weird. It's just weird. It's weird to combine that with a borderline top 5 penalty kill and a top 10 save percentage, and they're 5th in goals against the game. Like it feels very opposite from what we are used to from Toronto. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that was most shocking was the power play versus the penalty kill. That completely stunned me because that's completely the inverse of the Toronto Maple Leafs that we know. So, I mean, yeah, but they're what, top? I think they're 7th in the league in goals for, but they're also top 10 in goals, fewest goals against. It's the way I should probably say that, so it makes the most sense.
Yeah, they're 5th in goals against the game.
Yeah, with fewest goals against a game. Right. So that's. Yeah. Their top team in the league. Now, the big thing that could help you as a Red Wings fan is Austin Matthews possibly being out. He missed the last game they played, and he's questionable for Friday. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, even without Austin Matthews, they still got Marner, who has 16 points in 14 games, Nylander, who has 15 and 14, Tavares, who has 11 and 13. Like,
Nylander
they're not
is like borderline goal a game pace at the moment. I think he has 11 or 12 on the season, and they've played 14 games. Like, yeah.
They're not kneecapped without Matthews, but it is still a huge loss.
For sure.
So just really, I mean, realistically, between this and playing the New York Rangers again, who've beaten you twice. Now, the first game, you played well against the Rangers. You just got goalie. But the second game, you gave up, I think, 3 power play goals. It was awful special teams performance to a team that has like one of the best penalty kills in the league and one of the best power plays in the league. You know, what is a realistic expectation for the Red Wings this weekend? Like, you're playing 2 of the upper echelon regular season teams.
Yeah, I want a split, to be honest with you. I'm totally cool with a split. If they walk out of this weekend with 2 points, I'm pretty happy. And I think that really, like, no matter how they get 2 points, I think that both of those would be pretty decent indications of the weekend. I would love to beat Toronto just because that sets you up for like anything is kind of possible in that second game of the back-to-back, right? Whereas if you drop the first game, then your back's kind of against the wall to go almost a week without winning a game because of the scheduling. We don't play again until Wednesday after this. So, you don't want to go that long without a win, certainly. So, yeah, I think that if they walk out of here with a split, I'm pretty pleased. These are 2 really good teams, and we've already played New York a lot. We don't have too much else to add on there. They're still really good. They still have arguably the best goalie on the planet. That's going to be tough, but I think if you're walking out of here with 2 points, then I'm pretty happy with it.
No, I agree with you. I mean, these are, on a back-to-back as well. Like, I think winning the game against Toronto in Toronto is the more important game, which is crazy to say because you're going to Toronto. But, coming back home, even though it is a home ice advantage on the weekend, like
division game too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, playing in the second half of a back-to-back against the team that won the President's Trophy last year is so difficult that I think winning the first game is a little bit more important. But either way you slice it, if you get a split this week and you get 2 points, I'll be very happy. Now, if they lose both, I'm also not going to come on here and be like, it's the end of the road. And don't get me wrong, you know me, I ride my emotions pretty hard. Like, I'll be bummed, and I'll be like, oh. But, like, at the end of the day, losing to both the Leafs and the Rangers, I mean, it's 2 of the best teams in the league. Obviously, I don't want to get blown out because this is a team that's trying to make the playoffs. So you want to at least look competitive in those games, but you looked competitive against the Rangers already once this season. Because notably, the Rangers are bottom 10 in the league in Corsi for percentage. Shot creation at 5-on-5, they're bottom 10 in the league. They're ranked 25th in the league. Now, the Red Wings are ranked 29th, don't get me wrong, but I think that's part of the reason why the Red Wings were able to have success against the Rangers the first time they played them, despite the fact that Igor Shesterkin goalied them. Like, they had so many opportunities they just couldn't convert. It's because the Rangers ride Shesterkin, they ride a killer power play. I mean, the guys that they have on that power play are insane, and the second best penalty kill in the league. And I think that's been an issue that they've had for quite a few years. I remember talking to John Chick like 3 years ago, like after I had first started, and we were talking about the Rangers who had gotten very good and were very hot, and we were like, and he was just not sure about their success they were going to have. And I said, why? And he's like, well, they have all their success on special teams, but you play most of your game at 5-on-5, and they're not a great 5-on-5 team. So analytically early here, they're still not a great 5-on-5 team, but they're still on paper a much better team than the Red Wings. So
they have still found a formula to win despite that. So.
Right. So, Scotty, got to win some hockey games.
You do, Brian. You really do. Fun stat before I send everybody off on their merry weekend. The best team in the NHL in the face-off circle, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is a fun fact. That's a very Scotty fact.
Number one, they are almost rocking a 56% team face-off win percentage, which is wild.
For reference, your Detroit Red Wings are ranked 13th in the league in face-off percentage. That's been climbing because they've gotten a lot better in that category.
Yeah.
So
Scotty, those defensive zone face-offs are going to be big. No other final thoughts. We ball.
We're back with a new episode on Monday, recapping both these games. Stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.